Eastern Front. January 1943. Minus 32 degrees. Gefreiter Klaus Weber crouches in a frozen trench outside Stalingrad with a Luger pistol pressed against his left foot. 19 years old, 47 days on the Eastern Front. 18 men left from a company that started with 214. The math is simple. Shoot his foot now, get evacuated, live, or stay here and die when the Soviets attack at dawn. 3 hours left. His finger rests on the trigger, won't move. He's been sitting like this for 20 minutes. The Wehrmacht has one word for this: selbstverstümmelung, self-mutilation. 15,000 German soldiers do it anyway. Shoot their hand, freeze their feet, cut themselves deep, and let infection spread. Punishment is execution. But Klaus has watched 7 men get evacuated with suspicious wounds in the past month. Nobody gets executed. The Eastern Front consumes too many bodies. Individual cases don't matter anymore. He hears artillery, Soviet Katyushas, the sound that means infantry follows. Boots crunch on frozen snow. Feldwebel Otto Becker appears at the trench edge. 42 years old, Iron Cross from the First War, face like carved granite. Weber. Klaus lowers the Luger. Herr Feldwebel. Becker climbs down, sits beside him. Wind howls. Somewhere distant, men scream. My son is your age, Becker says. Klaus grips the pistol tighter. You think I don't see what you're doing? 47 days earlier. Klaus steps off a train east of Kharkov. November cold cuts through his uniform. Becker meets the replacements at the platform. You see those woods? He points east. That's where most of you die. Questions? Silence. Good, follow me. Do what I say. Maybe you last a week. Klaus's first combat comes 6 hours later. Soviet probe hits at dusk. Mortars scream down. Machine guns tear the trench apart. Klaus fires without aiming, just pulls the trigger. Attack stops after 12 minutes. 7 Germans dead. Klaus's hands won't stop shaking. Day 3. Gefreiter Hans Dietrich takes a sniper round through the throat, dies in 14 seconds. Klaus holds pressure, but blood pumps between his fingers. Dietrich's eyes go empty. Day 5. Artillery hits their command post. Direct hit. 4 men vaporized. Klaus finds an arm still gripping a pencil. Day 7. Mine blows Obergefreiter Franz Müller's legs off. He screams for 30 minutes. Medic has no morphine. Day 9. Klaus counts. Every replacement who arrived with him is dead or evacuated. All 16. Gone. He's the only one left. Becker finds him staring at nothing. Now you understand, Becker says. Understand what? Why men shoot themselves. That night Klaus dreams about his father's bakery. Warm ovens, fresh bread, his mother singing. He wakes up to artillery and realizes the dream hurts worse than combat. The Eastern Front doesn't just kill bodies, it kills hope. December 1942. First case Klaus sees is Gefreiter Thomas Keller, shot through the left hand, cleaning his rifle. The angle is perfect. Too perfect. Sanitator Georg Richter examines it. Says nothing. Writes, accidental discharge. Keller evacuates within 2 hours. 3 days later. Obergefreiter Peter Graf develops massive arm infection. Says he cut it on wire, but the wound is straight, deep, packed with dirt deliberately. Graf evacuates. 5 days after that. Schütze Martin Weber reports frostbite on both feet. Says he fell asleep on watch. His boots are found 50 meters away. Weber evacuates. Command posts, warnings everywhere. Self-mutilation equals desertion. Punishment is death. But evacuations continue. Nobody gets executed. The system can't process trials while losing 40 men daily to actual combat. Richter explains it one frozen night. They threaten everything. Death by firing squad, court-martial, but proving intent takes weeks. We don't have weeks. The 6th Army is surrounded. Supplies are cut. We're all dying here anyway. So they just ignore it? They calculate losses. A soldier who shoots his foot costs less than a soldier who goes insane and frags his lieutenant. Klaus takes his Luger apart that night, cleans every piece, loads it, stares at it for 3 hours. The weapon feels heavier each day, not from weight, from possibility. Around him, the Eastern Front grinds forward. Bodies freeze in no man's land. Replacements arrive and die within days. The Sixth Army slowly starves. Klaus does the math. Stay and die for certain, or shoot himself and maybe live. The equation gets simpler every morning he wakes up still breathing. January 7th, 1943. Klaus sits with the Luger against his foot. Becker sits beside him. "My son was drafted last August," Becker says. "Sent to North Africa. Got a letter 3 weeks ago. Missing. Probably dead in some desert. Wind cuts through the trench. Artillery rumbles. You know what I think about?" Becker's voice is flat. "Whether he suffered. Whether he called for me. Whether it was quick." Klaus feels the cold metal against his boot. "You want to see your family again?" Becker stands. Walks 5 meters. Stops. Doesn't turn. Left foot. Through the metatarsals. Angle it upward. Clean exit. Then expose it to cold for frostbite. Say you slipped checking positions. Gun discharged. I confirm it. You could be shot for helping me. My son is dead. What else can they take? Becker walks into darkness. Klaus looks at the Luger. Thinks about his father teaching him to knead dough. His mother's face. His sisters playing. Thinks about Dietrich bleeding out in 12 seconds. Müller screaming with no legs, bodies frozen like statues. He aims, breathes. The trigger feels impossibly heavy, then light, then nothing. He pulls it. The shot cracks across the frozen steppe. Klaus screams, real pain, bone shatters, blood spreads black on snow. He counts to 30, forces himself. Then rips the boot off, exposes torn flesh to -32 degrees. Frostbite starts immediately. Becker appears with soldiers. What happened? Slipped. Gun went off. You idiot. Perfect contempt in his voice. Medic! Richter arrives, examines the wound, knows immediately, says nothing, just bandages it. Evacuation, Richter states. Bone fragments, frostbite, infection risk. He writes the form. Accidental discharge due to negligence. Not desertion, not cowardice, just carelessness. Dawn comes. Klaus loads onto a supply truck. 6 wounded. 4 have suspicious wounds. Nobody speaks. Everyone understands. The truck rolls west. Away from Stalingrad. Away from death. Klaus watches the battlefield disappear. He's alive. Guilt comes later. Field hospital, 50 kilometers west. Converted warehouse, 200 wounded on straw, barely above freezing inside. Hauptmann Friedrich Adler examines Klaus's foot. 50 years old, surgeon from Berlin, 18 months treating Eastern Front casualties. He unwraps the bandage, studies entry wound, exit wound, powder burns, takes a protractor, measures the angle. Nobody measures angles on accidents. Klaus feels ice in his gut. 20 seconds of silence. Then, bullet entered at 90 degrees to the foot's axis. I slipped, Herr Hauptmann. Of course. Adler rewraps it. Consistent with perpendicular discharge during a fall. He writes on a form. Klaus can't read it upside down. Severe trauma. Bone fragments embedded. Advanced frostbite. Surgery required. Adler operates under local anesthetic. Klaus watches through morphine haze. The surgeon works with precision, removes bone chips, cleans tissue, sutures, never speaks. Later in recovery, Adler visits once. I treat 40 suspicious wounds every month, he says quietly. Always the same angle, always frostbite after, always the left side. Klaus stays silent. High Command wants prosecutions. They want firing squads. Examples. Adler stands. But I'm a doctor, not an executioner. He produces transfer papers. Warsaw Hospital, 8 weeks recovery, then light duty. France or Norway. You don't return here. Adler leaves. Klaus understands. The system fractured. Doctors refuse to judge. Sergeants' help escapes. The machine consuming the Eastern Front can't process individual cases anymore. The Wehrmacht eats itself from inside. 3 days later, Klaus boards a hospital train to Warsaw. 16 other men with suspicious wounds ride the same car. They don't discuss it, but everyone knows they're the lucky ones. Warsaw Military Hospital, February 1943. Klaus walks on crutches now. Military police investigator enters the ward. Feldwebel Heinrich Braun, 48, career soldier, built like a tank. He carries a thick folder. Gefreiter Weber. Klaus's heart stops. Braun sits, opens the folder. I reviewed your case, medical reports, witness statements, ballistics analysis. Silence. The evidence shows inconsistencies. He produces photographs, wound patterns, angles, burn marks. A prosecutor could argue deliberate self-infliction. I slipped. Yes, your report says that. Braun closes the folder. I investigated 68 similar cases this quarter. Remarkable consistency in the patterns. He stands, walks to window. Snow falls on Warsaw's ruins. High Command wants examples, public executions. They want to stop this epidemic. Braun turns. But here's reality. Prosecuting you takes 6 weeks. Court-martial, witnesses, paperwork. During that time, you consume a hospital bed and require guards. The Eastern Front needs those resources for actual combat. Klaus sees where this goes. Your foot heals in 6 weeks. Light duty classification, occupation forces, France or Norway. Braun picks up his folder. Quiet sectors, boring work. He walks to the door. Pauses. I could prosecute. The evidence supports it. But Stalingrad surrenders in 2 weeks. The 6th Army is finished. 90,000 men will die in Soviet camps. Why add one more body to that pile? Braun exits. Klaus exhales. He didn't realize he was holding his breath. The system made its calculation. He's worth more alive than dead. March 1943. Transfer orders arrive. Occupation duty. Northern France. Effective immediately. He'll never see the Eastern Front again, but he'll never escape it either. Warsaw Hospital. March 1943. Klaus shares a ward with 9 others. All suspicious wounds. Late night. The nurses leave. The men finally talk. Gefreiter Hans Schmidt speaks first. Shows his left hand, 2 fingers missing. I was married 6 weeks before deployment. 6 weeks. That's all we got. Obergefreiter Josef Klein nods. My brother froze to death at Stalingrad. Found him 3 days later, still in his trench, eyes open. I'm not dying like that. Schütze Paul Richter unwraps his leg. Deep, infected cut. My wife had our first baby 2 days before I cut myself. A daughter. I haven't met her. But I will now. The ward falls silent. 1 man didn't make it. Obergefreiter Ernst Wagner shot his chest instead of his foot, bled out before the medic arrived, 21 years old, married 3 months. His last words, "Tell her I tried." Wagner's bed stayed empty for 2 days, then a new soldier arrived, suspicious foot wound. The cycle continues. Klaus looks at these men. They're not cowards. They're survivors. The Eastern Front doesn't reward courage. It just kills everyone equally. Morning comes. Transfer orders for everyone. France, Norway, Denmark. Quiet sectors. They shake hands. Exchange addresses. Promise letters. Nobody writes. They all want to forget. Klaus boards a train west. Watches Poland disappear. Thinks about Becker still in that frozen trench. About Dietrich dying in 12 seconds. About all the men who didn't shoot themselves. The guilt settles in his chest like ice. He survived. They didn't. That's the only difference. December 1945. Klaus steps off a train in Munich. The city is rubble. His entire street is gone. Bombed flat in 1944. His mother stands in ruins. She's aged 20 years. Grey, thin, hollow. She sees him, runs, hugs him for 5 minutes, just holds him and cries. His father appears, limps badly, shrapnel wound from an air raid. "Your foot," his father says. Klaus nods. They never discuss it again. That night, Klaus lies awake. The guilt crushes him. Dietrich died in 12 seconds. Müller screamed with no legs. Becker probably died at Stalingrad when the Sixth Army surrendered. He survived because he shot himself. The question eats him alive. Was he a coward? His father finds him at 3 a.m. sitting in rubble. "You're thinking about the dead," his father says, "every night. Listen, you survived. That's not cowardice. The war was lost. Everyone knew it. Dying for nothing isn't bravery, it's waste. But I abandoned them." "No, you chose life." His father grips his shoulder. "You came home. You can rebuild. That's what matters." Klaus rebuilds the bakery. Takes 3 years. Opens in 1948. Customers return slowly. He marries in 1950. Has 3 children. Teaches his son the trade. Bread feeds people. That's honest work. Every morning his foot aches. The limp never disappears. Permanent reminder of January 7th, 1943. He never tells his children, never tells his wife the truth. The official story stays simple. Accidental discharge. Slipped on ice. Everyone believes it. But Klaus knows. Every time his foot throbs, he remembers. The frozen trench, the Luger, Becker's face, the shot that saved him. 42 years baking bread, thousands of loaves, hundreds of customers, normal life, built on 1 bullet. Waldfriedhof Cemetery, Munich, 1987. Klaus Weber dies at 64. Heart attack. Quick and clean. Simple headstone, name and dates. Nothing about the war. The German military never acknowledges the epidemic. Official records classify cases as accidents. The truth stays buried. But historians later calculate 15,000 to 30,000 German soldiers deliberately injured themselves. The real number is higher. Many cases never got documented. These men made an impossible choice: die for a lost cause or survive with permanent guilt. Feldwebel Otto Becker survived Stalingrad, surrendered February 1943, spent 12 years in Soviet camps, returned to Germany in 1955, gave 1 interview in 1957. "I never blamed them. The war was lost. High Command knew it. Making soldiers die for nothing isn't honor. It's murder. I'd help 100 more if I could go back." Klaus Weber baked bread for 42 years. Fed thousands. Raised 3 kids. Taught his son everything. Lived quietly. Never complained. Never explained. Was he a coward? The 90,000 who died in Soviet camps after Stalingrad can't answer. The millions who died on the Eastern Front can't answer. Only Klaus knew. And he chose life. Modern militaries still face this. How do you maintain discipline when the cause is hopeless? Every army has deserters, self-inflicted wounds, psychological breaks. The answer isn't stricter punishment. It's leadership that doesn't waste lives. Klaus is buried beside his father. The bakery still operates. His grandson runs it now. 3 generations. Because one man chose to live. That's not cowardice. That's survival. Like and subscribe for more Untold history. Comment below, what would you have done? The bakery on Schillerstrasse still stands. Klaus's grandson, Thomas Weber, runs it now. Same ovens, same recipes, same 5 a.m. opening. Thomas never knew the truth about his grandfather's limp. Klaus died when Thomas was 8. The official story was always war injury from an accident. In 2003, Thomas finds an old document while cleaning the attic. Medical report from Warsaw Hospital, 1943. Detailed wound analysis. The word suspicious appears 3 times. He confronts his father, Klaus's son. "Your grandfather did what he had to do," his father says quietly. "The war was evil. Staying meant dying for evil. He chose to come home. That's why you exist." Thomas looks at the document, sees the angles, the measurements, the classification, understands. The selbstverstümmelung epidemic remains one of World War II's hidden stories. Nobody celebrates these men. No monuments exist. No medals were awarded. But they lived, had children, built businesses, contributed to society. The Eastern Front consumed 3 million German soldiers, millions more Soviet soldiers. Entire armies ground to dust. The men who escaped through self-inflicted wounds got branded cowards by some. called survivors by others. Klaus Weber never called himself anything, just baked bread, raised his family, limped through life with a permanent reminder. Every morning at 5 a.m., Thomas opens the bakery. The smell of fresh bread fills Schillerstrasse. Customers line up like they did in 1948, like they did before the war. 3 generations of survival, built on 1 bullet in a frozen trench in 1943. Klaus made his choice, lived with it, never apologized. That's enough. Hit subscribe for more hidden World War II stories. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Thanks for watching.